Okay, I'm about to blow your mind. Ask yourself this question. Why would Iran fire what seems to be like 250 slow moving targets into the best multi layered air defense system after telegraphing the attack 10 days in advance, just to have it end up being shot out from the sky like a bunch of flies? Now, this is the real story, not the mainstream media BS you've been hearing. Allow me to explain. So, about 10 days ago, the Israelis carried out a very embarrassing thing for the Iranians. They took out the entire chain of command of the Quds force in Syria and Lebanon. They took out 7 generals in one strike, ruining the entire chain of command. That shows great PR, that shows great intelligence, and great execution. And mainly it embarrasses Iran very severely. So Iran had to retaliate. And tonight, we saw the retaliation happen. The Iranians shot 185 suicide drones, 110 ballistic missiles, and 36 cruise missiles into Israeli territory. Now, this is the first time Iran has directly struck Israel. That is the first time it happened, and this is a huge, huge deal. But it's not as big as mainstream media wants you to think. Allow me to explain. Now, the Israelis, with their terrific multi-layer air defense system, and the UK and France and the US and Jordan and Saudi Arabia, they all participated in tonight's basically defense effort to shoot down these 250, 300 targets out of the sky. And eventually 99.9% of them did not go through. 1 or 2 blew up, basically causing some damage and 1 injury. And that was the whole thing. Now, look, the whole thing started out at about 8 p.m. local time in Israel, and it ended at 4 a.m. Now, in that time span, the airspace in Israel was absolutely shut down. The airports was off. But as of 6 a.m. local time, they reopened the skies again, and everything went back to normal. Why? Well, at the same time that this happened, the Iranian mission to the UN posted a tweet or post, whatever it's called now on X, and it basically said, look, we were justified in doing what we did. It was a response to you guys killing our generals, but now the score has settled. We're not going to do anything else. Don't strike us. Don't attack us. We're done. We're finished. Now, why would they say that? Well, allow me to explain. And this is going to be the actual analysis, not the BS you get on mainstream media. Now, look, why would you fire a barrage of really slow-moving targets that need 7 to 9 hours to reach their destination, and telling the Israelis in advance you're going to do this, giving them, a week and a half to prepare, knowing full well they're going to shoot everything down from the sky? Well, number one, Iran had to save face. You see, after what happened with the Israelis killing their generals, they had to retaliate because otherwise they look like a biatch. So they had to save face. They had to do something big. We just launched hundreds of missiles into Israel. Hoorah! They've done that, and they've achieved that goal. They have a local PR game to play back home. They have a regional PR game to play in their neighborhood. So they've done that. Now, the second part of the equation, which you don't hear right now in mainstream media, which really freaks me out how they can't see it, is 2 goals. Iran at this juncture, at this point in time, is not particularly interested in waging a full-scale war with Israel and consequently with the US, because it's a package deal right now. Why? Well, because Iran is racing towards a nuclear weapon, which they will achieve quite soon. Why would they start a war with the US and the Israelis before they have a nuke when they're so close to getting it? Doesn't make any sense. So Iran doesn't really want a war right now. So the whole thing here was designed to cause a severe response, but not to trigger a regional war with Israel and the US. On top of it, the Biden administration back in the US is living through a PR nightmare. The Democratic base is turning against Biden because of the foreign policy issues, because of the Gaza issues, because of the Israeli issues. So it's not a very popular thing right now. So Biden is bleeding votes back home because he can't explain to his own Democratic base what's going on in Gaza. And the Iranians are not about to bail him out of this. If Iran, which is a sovereign country, would attack Israel and cause lots of damage, it's, fair game, war. 2 countries go to war, an ally gets attacked, we're going to go to defend. The Gaza story goes off the feed. The Gaza story becomes yesterday's news. Nobody cares about the Palestinians, about Gaza. It's now a full-blown war between Iran and Israel, and the US is going to defend, and then everybody's going to get behind the flag, and it's a legitimate war, right? That solves a lot of problems for Biden, for his team, to make the whole Palestinian-Gaza thing make it yesterday's news. So for the Iranians to start a full-blown war, they're going to bail out Biden. He has enough rope right now back home to hang himself from a PR standpoint. So that is why they didn't want to cause any damage, because it's very hard to justify going to war with Iran when there's no damage and there's no casualties. How can you justify that? Because Iran, they did something horrible, but really it was just a meager attempt. Nothing really happened. It's going to be very hard to push this narrative back home to explain it, why we're going to spend more billions, more American lives, more the whole shebang, to go to war against Iran when they really didn't do nothing. It was such an embarrassing attack. So that is the thought process of Iran. Whether it's going to work or not, I don't know. Because the Israelis might just say, you know what, you struck us from your own geography for the first time in history. You fired 250 rockets into our country. We're going to retaliate. Screw off. If that happens, whole different ball game. Then it means Hezbollah gets involved with their 150,000 rockets aimed towards Israel, which means massive damage to Israeli infrastructure, full-blown regional war. The US gets involved, NATO gets involved, the whole thing. So if the Israelis respond, that will definitely escalate to regional war very, very quickly. But if they don't, it's pretty much over. Now, what have we learned from this story? Well, number one, I think this is proof for those of you who needed this proof that Gaza was just one more step to the real war. It wasn't about Gaza. It wasn't about the Palestinians. Gaza was just kind of a promo, a testing ground for Iran to see what's going on. Gaza is just the stepping stone to the real regional war that's undoubtedly happening. Now, you saw it yesterday. That was just a promo. We also saw yesterday Saudi Arabia and Jordan shoot down Iranian rockets that were aimed towards Israel. So for those of you who thought that the Abraham Accords, this regional military alliance with Israel, Jordan, and Saudi Arabia and the UAE is dead, alive and kicking, stronger than ever. In fact, that freaked out Saudi Arabia more than you think. So the regional alliance, the Abraham Accords, yesterday you saw exactly what happened. Jordan literally took a stand pro-Israel and Saudi Arabia as well. So they might talk the talk, but when push comes to shove, the alliance is alive and kicking. Also, I was quite surprised. I mean, we knew Israel had a very good multi-layered air defense system. We knew it's probably the best in the world. But it's kind of like buying a car that's like, a 0 to 60, 3-second car, supercar, but you've never taken it out for a spin. You never really know what it feels like. And yesterday we saw them take that car out for the spin, shoots down, didn't even tickle it. Shoot down 250, 300 rockets like it was nothing. So the multi-layer air defense system of Israel is very impressive. They did have help from the US and France and the UK and Saudi Arabia and Jordan, but the brunt of it was done by the Israeli system. Very impressive. I think the other thing we've learned here that the Iranian nuclear bomb is a big, big problem for the world, not for the Israelis. Because the thing with nuclear weapons is like, we know that if you have a nuke, you kind of understand you can't use it, right? It's a weapon that can never be used because you're going to start a chain reaction that's going to destroy the world. Einstein said, World War III is going to be fought with nukes and World War IV with stick and stones. So everybody knows, if you got a nuke, it's just a deterrent. But yesterday we saw these guys do something crazy, proving that Iran is not really a rational player. So now the world needs to think, do we want Iran, these crazy mofos, they just did that, to have a nuclear bomb? So the nuclear bomb of Iran is now back on the table as a huge point of discussion for the world after being off the table for a couple of years. That's a huge achievement for the Israelis, actually. I think another achievement for the Israelis is the fact that the whole independent proxies, the Houthi rebels, it's gone. Now we know it's Iran. We knew it's Iran, but now if you needed more proof, this is all Iran. There's no such thing as independent proxies. Now you have it. I think regardless whether Israel responds today or tomorrow or next week or in a year, the chances of a regional war between Israel, Iran, and the US and Hezbollah is now much, much higher than they were just 24 hours ago. I think there's about 3 to 6 months left in Gaza until the Israelis clean it up. And then they will probably push towards Lebanon and push towards Hezbollah, which might trigger a regional war, might not. We'll see. I think that the United States has made good on its promise to defend Israel, and that's admirable. And it gives them a lot of credibility. But I think the problem here is that Biden literally said, don't do it to Iran, to which they responded by doing exactly what he threatened them not to do the same day, which if they live to tell about it, it's going to be a bad look for Biden. It's going to look weak. But, you can't win them all. Now, as always, thank you for joining me today. If you want to support the work we do here, since it's mostly not monetized, consider joining the Patreon, patreon.com/TomNash Report. Would love to see you there. Shout out to all my great subscribers, all my great fans, and shout out to the one fan I met randomly yesterday. It was fun to hang out with you. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next one.